Just take your cursor to type a message here, keep it there, it will not ever lock itself. Now, what does the prelims syllabus say about history itself? And UPSC always does this, which is it is as vague as possible, as vague as possible. History of India, Indian national movement. They have been very kind to us, which is that they have not specified anything to us, and they've just written history of India and Indian national movement. Pankaj, if you're from a technical background, don't worry. I will teach you from scratch. Don't worry about that. I will make sure that you will start to actually see the logic of history rather than ratifying history. Don't worry about that. History of India, Indian national movement. When does the Indian national movement start? Anybody? What is the date? Very good, Pranay. Not 1857, 1885. Formation of the Indian National Congress. So from 1885 to 1947, there's a specific mention to the Indian national movement itself, and history of India is the vaguest term there. Now let's do one thing. Let's understand what is history for UPSC. What is history for UPSC? There are total 6 components to history. History is not one subject but 6 subjects. Ancient, medieval, modern, art and culture, post-independence, world history. World history. And what students don't realize is that there is a purpose of each, which is that these 2 only are PT specific, which is prelims, which is that you don't need to learn ancient medieval in a subjective way because it is prelims oriented. This is PT specific. Modern and art and culture is PT plus mains, which is that you have both objective MCQ questions plus mains questions, which means subjective questions. And post-independence and world history are only mains, which means there is only subjective mains questions which come out of here. Now, this means that there is something called factual knowledge and there's something called conceptual knowledge. For modern India, do you need both or only one? For modern India, you need both or one? You need both, because you need to understand the question also in the prelims examination, and you should be able to write an answer in the mains examination also. So as I'll go on, once I've taught you 2 to 3 modules, I'll start to give you tricks of answer writing in modern India, and I'll tell you how to approach questions. I'll give you practice questions in class also. But the basic point is that modern India and art and culture are like the backbone. These 2 subjects cannot be ignored irrespective of anything. Now, you would also know one more thing is that if you would go to any random source of UPSC, they would say that you only concentrate on modern India and art and culture, don't do ancient medieval. Or they will say do ancient medieval modern but leave art and culture, post-independence, world history. Everybody has seen videos, everybody has gone through sources, everybody has their own combination of tricks. But I will tell you one thing very, very clearly. For anybody who has 365 days or you are technically preparing for 2024, leaving history is suicidal. Both in prelims and mains, because together in prelims you will get 25 to 20 questions, and in mains you will get 3 to 5 questions. which means that a lot of marks, close to 50 marks in prelims, and again close to 65 to 70 marks in mains, is based on these two concepts. And more than that, if you don't study ancient and medieval, art and culture will stop making sense itself, which is, the most common book, which is Nitin Singhania. What students do is they just pick up Nitin Singhania and start to read it. But Nitin Singhania will not make sense to you if you do not understand ancient and medieval, because that is the base itself. Same is true for modern. Modern, if you don't understand the basic concept and timelines, you will not understand prelims oriented and mains oriented together with the larger history itself. So do not listen to anybody. I will make all of these subjects, I will teach you all of this in different sets and at different points of time in this year, but I will make sure that you are comfortable with each of them. So we had first the discussion related to what is BHLP, what is the course itself. Now we've understood the 6 components which come in the exam. Is this clear, everyone? Come on. You want me to repeat? Very simple. Ancient, medieval, prelim specific. Modern, art and culture, prelims and mains. Post-independence, world history is only mains. Conceptual knowledge is needed in these two together. Factual knowledge and concepts are important for ancient and medieval itself. Basic point is you need to study history. There is no one who has ever cleared this examination with leaving history itself. You have to study this and you will start to enjoy it. I will make sure you do that. How to make notes? Again, as I said, you see how I'm condensing the information. Once you study with me, you will automatically see how I condense information. There's, for example, you have opened the NCERT. I'm not asking you to just copy the NCERT. What a lot of students, what they do is, they just copy the book itself. That is not notes making. Notes making technically is condensation of information. There is this much data. How do you make it this much? Meaning, how do you make it into a pill which can be revised and can be studied easily? So very simply, you go with me. You go with me. As I go on, I will tell you the strategy to cover modern India. I will tell you the answer writing. This is your first baby step itself. This is the first baby step. As you will come to the 5th, 6th module with me, you will see that you will become more and more comfortable. Let's study something and you see how I'm condensing information. Condensation. Notes making is very, very simply not copying the information. It's about effectively organizing the information so that you can revise quickly. If it takes you 3 hours, if it takes you 3 hours to read the book and it takes you 3 hours to read your notes, then notes making is useless. Notes should be effective. Notes should be effective. Mohammed, I'll tell you which chapter we are doing. Don't worry about that. I'm still giving you context here. I've not started the course. I'm still giving you context here. Is this clear? Everyone, come on. Great. Perfect. Now, the next discussion we need to have is the other $1,000,000 question, which is, what are the books? What are the books? Books. We are entering. Sharafuddin, I need to give you the understanding first. Now, you would have received this from us. If you haven't, you will be. This is Bipin Chandra, History of Modern India. This is class 8th NCERT and this is class 12th NCERT. This is class 12th NCERT. 12th part 3. Now, what I want from you is, I will be giving you 21 PPTs. What you see here, this is one PPT. Make the PPTs the base. Make the PPTs the base, because in PPT, I have not just added these 3 sources. I have gone to optional level. which is I have information out of Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, I have information out of Sumit Sarkar, I have information out of some very, very important books which are taught for optional, but is not of any purpose to you because it's bulky. But what I do is that I'm amalgamating 6 to 7 sources together and creating this PPT itself. So make the PPT the base. Then the NCERT, which is the new NCERT. And thereafter comes third is Bipin Chandra. Third is Bipin Chandra. Now you will ask me, sir, what about spectrum? What about spectrum? See, spectrum only after this point. For the examination, NCERT plus PPT is extremely important. On NCERT's website, all NCERTs are available free of cost. You can download whole PDF. But my understanding is, don't go anywhere right now. First, understand the PPTs. Create a base with me. Bipin Chandra is no class. It's a book. It's a book, Orient Black Swan. Bipin Chandra is coming to you as part of your books. Use the 21 PPTs as the base. 21 PPTs cover 99% of the syllabus. But because NCERTs are a must and UPSC very specifically says that, have to go through the new ones. And then once you become comfortable with these two subjects, these two basic sources, then you move to Bipin Chandra. Lavanya, as I go on in the course, each and every module you will get a PPT. So don't have to worry. There are 21 modules of modern India and 3 modules of post-independence. Very simply, when it comes to sources, concentrate on the PPTs, concentrate in class. I teach in a certain way, which is that I give you a story in the beginning, then I revise with you through the PPT, and then I give you a summary in the end. So in the same class, I'm teaching you and I'm revising with you twice. Most probably you don't need to go to any other source. But if you have this doubt inside you, what about the NCERTs? What about Bipin Chandra? First PPT, then NCERT, then Bipin Chandra. It's a systematic process. Clear? PPT will be generated every time this class is over. You will get the PPT itself, annotated PPT. Right? Come on, everyone. Have to be more. What about old NCERT? I'll give you a surprising information. The surprising information is Bipin Chandra wrote the old NCERT and he republished the old NCERT as History of Modern India. So you don't have to purchase the NCERTs. Everything is available on NCERT's website itself. Or if you do Bipin Chandra, you are automatically covering old NCERT. Are you getting my point? First PPT, then NCERT, because NCERTs are written abruptly. First PPT. Okay, Shavni, this is much more fundamental. You'll do ancient with me very soon. Don't worry about that. We can do it independent of that. So, syllabus, source, structure of history. These 3 things clear? No, Simarpreet, see, 6th and 7th are ancient and medieval. There are actually total 6 to 7 NCERT. 6th is ancient, 12th class part 1 is ancient. 7th is medieval, 8th is modern, 12th class part 1 is ancient, part 2 is medieval, part 3 is modern. So basically there's a 6 book, 2 books. I want you to go to 8th straight. What I want from you, 9th and 10th is world history. Don't have to touch that. What I want from you very simply is, India struggle for independence, Harsh, that is again a different level. That's an optional level book, very descriptive, does not give you basic information. And more than that, I'm covering it in class. My PPTs cover that. Can we agree to one thing before we move on, which is that as of right now, the PPTs are the base for us. And once you will see that you've covered the PPT, NCERT will only look like a repetition. Can we agree to that? Don't need to buy the NCERTs, just have to read it. That's called skipping and skimming. That I will tell you. What is the strategy? Skipping, skimming means that you don't learn the NCERT, you just revise from the NCERT. These are both revision devices. So don't worry about that. Okay. Bipin Chandra is old NCERT. Bipin Chandra is old NCERT. These are new NCERTs which I am talking about. So, source, syllabus, structure. These three things clear. First PPT, then NCERT, then Bipin Chandra. Why not, Ravi? A lot of technical students, engineers take history optional. I'll tell you the advantages as we go forward. Don't worry about that. Okay. Do you need to make notes out of NCERTs? No. Just have to revise. Don't have to make notes. Don't be eager to make notes right now. First, understand the whole thing. Spectrum, again, after you've covered NCERT. Spectrum is something which you can use vis-a-vis Bipin Chandra, meaning as substituting to Bipin Chandra, or generally. But the point is, NCERT plus PPT is a must. Basavaraj, we will talk about notes making tricks. First, let's start something and understand what we have to do. Okay. Now, trends. Can we move on? Come on, everyone. I have not studied NCERTs before. Even better. If you are a blank slate, it is even perfect, because that makes my task easier, because you don't have any background to distort what I'm telling you. So don't worry about that. Okay. Poonam Dalal Dahiya book, please stay away from that. Poonam Dalal Dahiya, be it ancient, medieval or modern, please, my request to you is, a lot of information in that book is wrong. So please don't. Okay. If there's a video issue, just refresh. Okay. Now, Harish, don't worry. I'm just now going into trends, and then we'll talk about what we have to do for today. Don't worry about that. So, as I said, GS paper 1 covers freedom struggle and post-independence. And there are close to 35 marks, which is 2 10 marker, 1 15 marker, which comes from this. It's been more or less consistent. Just 2017, there was a spike in the marks itself, number of questions, 2 to 3. And I'm going to start at the NCERT level itself. I start at NCERT level, I take you to optional level. Don't worry about that. Then post-independence, you from time to time either have not been getting questions, but past 2 years there have been questions. And when we talk about modern India, there are 10 to nowadays 5 to 10 questions which come. And they are the most sought after in easy ones. And if you'll do this basic 83 hours with me, any questions, previous year questions, will cover it in the class also. You will realize that the depth is matching what we are studying. So don't have to worry about that also. Very simply, trust the process. I'm only asking you to do one thing, which is trust the process. I will not start assuming anything, and I will go exponentially up, making sure that you understand the UPSC level question also. So don't have to worry in that sense. 6th to 12th, no, just concentrate on 8th and 12th class part 3. I'm not even asking you to read that right now. Don't worry about NCERTs right now. Concentrate in the class. Okay. Now, this is how we are going to cover our whole syllabus. This is the last discussion I have, then I enter Mughal decline. This is how we are going to cover our syllabus, which is that there are, as I said, 21 modules, and each and every module is created in such a way that first your prelim specific understanding is also catered to, and main specific is also done. So today we start with module number 1, Advent of Europeans and Mughal decline. The first classes are sets, which is Advent of European 2 classes, expansion of British rule 2 classes, economic policy 2 classes, then constitutional development, then we'll go to social religious reform 2 classes, tribal and peasant. Then we come to the halfway point of our history, 1857. And now we enter the national movement with the formation of the INC in 1885. Moderate politics, extremist politics, Gandhi, pre-Gandhian Home Rule League, Gandhi, and then the whole national movement itself. So this would automatically be available to you as part of a PDF which would have gone to you with the class schedule and the syllabus. But don't have to worry about this. 21 modules we will cover, and every and each aspect related to what we are doing will be covered in that sense. Now, if all of this is clear, can we now begin our journey? Because I need to explain to you where are we starting, where we are, and what we are going to do. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Modern history.
Yes, yes, we are back. We are back. I'm extremely sorry. We had a server issue that's now resolved. So something's not in our hands. As it is, we are teaching the history of the British. They, as it is, don't like the fact that I'm exposing them. So they always intervene in this way. The basic point of the matter is we'll come back at 6:30 again. Please, you take a break. We'll consider this as the break itself. So we'll be back at 6:30. I'm really sorry for this. Your break was there. This again. So yeah, 6:30. People had not long. Some of us said then members the 6 subjects which constitute history, the sources, PT, PPT. Oh, why not? Me on from the back. Not from at least 5-6 classes. Understand what is happening. Once you start to become comfortable with the PPT, then you go to the NCERT. Don't parallelly read it because it is going to become problem. You have not missed anything. You have not missed anything. I'm waiting, as I said, till 6:30 for everybody to join back. You do not miss. If you cover few feet, I'm just forward. Needs that is ancient. No, be sorry for this. That now the British interviewed omen in that sense that somebody wanted to intervene into our class. So let's now start our discussion for. And the good thing was we've just discussed the background. My whole purpose in the past 1.5 hours has been to give you an understanding of what we are going to do. Now, if I have your permission, and as I said, extremely sorry for this, can we begin the course itself, the first module itself? Yes? Great. Yes, the video is working, the audio is working, I'm audible, I'm visible. If not, just refresh once. I think everything is resolved. Okay. Now, what we call modern India is part of a larger story. See, in history, there's a very basic specific timeline, you see. What I'm trying to give you here is an understanding of what we are going to cover. See, from 2 million BCE to 750, we call it ancient. From 750 to 1206, we call it early medieval. From 1206 to 1707, we call it medieval. From 1707 to 1757, we call it early modern. And from 1757 to 1947, we call it modern. And BCE means before Christian era, or what we call as before common era. Don't have to worry about that word right now. Ancient we will discuss. Basic point is we are starting here. We are starting here. We are starting here. Which is why 1707 so important? 1707. What happened in 1707? Yes, very good. Death of Aurangzeb. So basically, like you are in a mall and you look at a screen and says, you are here. I am telling you that we are here right now. So the first topic I'm going to discuss with you is called decline of the Mughals, because that is the context. And then we'll go on to the Portuguese, which I will discuss with you very shortly. Now, listen to me, concentrate. As always, I'm going to ask you to tell me if you're following and concentrate towards me. Now see, what is the purpose of this discussion? See, I am shooting a movie, and the movie is called Expansion of the British in India. Expansion of the British in India. And I need actors. I need actors. So the discussion with regards to decline of Mughals is to technically cast the people into these roles. What do I mean by that? For example, I will say Farrukh Siyar. So you need to know who is Farrukh Siyar. I will say Bahadur Shah Zafar. So you need to know who is Bahadur Shah Zafar. So the Mughal decline is an important context to the concept of early modern and modern. 1757 is Battle of Plassey. 1707 to 1757 is where the British are going to very simply take root into India. So what I'm doing with you right now is that you don't have to learn the decline of Mughals, because that is technically medieval India. And when you do medieval India with me, I will again have a discussion with you. But I have to start somewhere. So I will start with the decline of Mughals. But the purpose, again I'm repeating myself, the purpose of this discussion is to create that image in your mind of these actors who will play a very important role in our story. Are you getting my point? You don't have to do a thesis on any one of them. What you need to do is just very simply know who this person is, so that when I show you the movie called Modern India, you know what the role of that person is, who that person is. So Mughal decline is something which is there in both medieval and in modern, but the purpose in modern is technically to talk about weak successors of Aurangzeb, because they are more important in our story, because they are the one who give the British the chance to entrench themselves. One thing I can assume that you realize that we were under the British for 250 years. Yes or no? Yes. Now, the first part of the first 5 to 6 modules tells us how does the British capture power in India. And that process, there are multiple actors which played a very important role. Okay. Now, first is, who are the Mughals? Again, very brief summary to you. Babur fought the first Battle of Panipat in 1526. And between 1526, which is the first Battle of Panipat, to 1707, we call this period as medieval India. Proper medieval India, Mughal India. You would know one of the most celebrated of all Mughal rulers, Akbar. Babur, Humayun, Sher Shah Suri, then Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. These are the basic rulers of the Mughals. Babur, Humayun, then in between comes Sher Shah Suri, Akbar, then Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and very simply Aurangzeb. These are the very, very important. Manu will discuss that. You have not lost anything till this point. We are now actually starting the discussion with regards to what happened. I'm extremely sorry for what happened. Now we are now discussing what we are discussing. So Babur, Humayun, in between Sher Shah Suri, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. Now the history of these rulers and even Aurangzeb, we will do in medieval, which is going to come very soon in your timetable itself. So I want you to do one thing, which is you trust me that I'm going to teach you medieval India and these rulers. Can you trust me that I will teach you about them? So I'm not going anywhere. I'm just making you assume that Mughal India exists, and Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan are the rulers. So you just need to trust me that I'm going to put a lot of time to explain these people to you. The Rajput policy, the religious policy, the concept of Mansabdari, everything I will discuss with you. So the first is this trust building exercise between you and me, that we realize that there is Mughal India. But now Aurangzeb is a very interesting character in our history itself, which is that he has always been accused of being a bigot. Bigot means a person who is religiously very, very divided. A staunch Muslim, he's known to have technically destroyed a lot of temples. His policies are considered one of the prime factors of destroying the Mughal dynasty itself. But the problem in that understanding is it glosses over other systemic issues which were there within the Mughal Empire. What do I mean by that? When we look at the Mughal decline, there are multiple factors which played a very important role. However, everybody gets fixated here. Everybody gets fixated here, which is Aurangzeb's religious policy. And if you've done history or you will do history for what we call as optional, you would know Jadunath Sarkar, a very major historian. He was the one who was obsessed with Aurangzeb's religious policy, that he is the single-handed reason why the Mughals declined, why they declined. Single-handed reason, he will put it on Aurangzeb's religious policy. However, if you look at the larger picture, there are other systemic issues which are there. And these systemic issues are important for us because these weak successors, the actors of our story called modern India, inherit these issues. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a very vivid picture of how Mughals are going to decline. And once you will see how they decline, you will realize that basically which will be exploited by the Europeans. So before I technically spring up the Europeans in India, you need to understand the weakness of the Mughal Empire and why is that there was so much gap in India that the Europeans could enter. So very simply, we need to understand a very simple question, because everything which we do has a purpose. What I'm trying to say is Farrukhsiyar is going to give a permission to the British to trade. Jahangir had already given some permissions to trade. The reason why they will be able to enter the Bengal sector, the Hyderabad sector, the Carnatic sector is because Mughal decline was weak. So you need to understand what happened to the Indian subcontinent that it became so easy for the British to enter. You're understanding the point of this discussion? The basic systemic concept. Yes? I need more enthusiasm. Come on. You need to be, in my class, you need to be more. Because if you don't say yes, if you don't tell me that you are with me, everything I do forward, I'm blind. I need to know if you're following me. Great. Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, see, the first point is Mughals have interesting characters. And one such interesting character is a person called Shah Jahan. What do you know Shah Jahan for? What we have done till this point is, we are now discussing Mughal decline. We have not discussed anything else. We all know Shah Jahan for Taj Mahal. Very good. Taj Mahal was made by Shah Jahan, and in Delhi, Red Fort, Jama Masjid, all made by Shah Jahan. So Shah Jahan was a great builder. But when you build something, what do you need to do buildings? if you are building something, what do you need? You need money. Very good. You need money. So if you need money, making Taj Mahal is not a cheap affair. Making a whole city called Shahjahanabad, Red Fort, is not a cheap affair. So basically, when Aurangzeb, the successor of Shah Jahan, comes to power, Aurangzeb inherits an empire which is literally bankrupted. Which is literally bankrupted means that very simply, Shah Jahan spent all the money in creating these structures. So when Aurangzeb comes to power, Aurangzeb has a major issue, which is there's an economic crisis. There's an economic crisis, proper economic crisis within the Mughal Empire itself, and that is because of Shah Jahan's overspending. It technically doesn't help that Aurangzeb has also taken a policy of religious division, which is that he is technically following a policy in which he is not tolerant, So there's an economic crisis and he is following a religious policy which is divisionary. That's called bigotry. He is technically being religiously not tolerant. So now Aurangzeb is in a proper crisis, and the Mughal Empire is very, very big. So if you have an economic crisis and your basic income is revenue from land, which is taxing the farmers, what are you going to do? Come on, what are you going to do? You are going to increase or decrease taxes? Very good. You will increase taxes. Perfect. You will increase taxes. So he is tries to mitigate by increasing the taxes. Very good. But there's a problem. See, this data was not previously available to us, but history is also becoming more and more interesting as a subject. Mitigate means to find a solution, tries to find a solution to increase to this problem by increasing the taxes. Now, previously we did not have this data, but with new histories being written and a very new zone which is emerging called environmental history, we get to know that Aurangzeb, under his rule, there were 8 to 9 El Nino years. Now I'll tell you what this means. He tries to mitigate this economic crisis via increase in taxation. But if he is going to mitigate via increase in taxation, he needs to exploit the peasants more. But the problem is that his rule has what are called 8 to 9 El Nino years. What is El Nino? You will do it in geography, but I'll give you a very simple explanation. The pressure difference between Australia and the Chile coast, Chile country, South Latin American and Australia, when the pressure difference is negative, which is that there is high pressure on the Chile side, the monsoonal winds, their intensity decreases. And if monsoonal winds intensity will decrease, what will happen to the rainfall in India? It will go down. So what happens is that there's the opposite also called La Nina, which is too much rainfall. What we know now is, based on environmental history, that when Aurangzeb tried to increase the taxes, agriculture started to fail. Agriculture started to fail, which is that now there are two issues which are related to each other. He's in an economic crisis and he's trying to increase the taxes. But agriculture needs water. Water is going down. So now if you look at Aurangzeb's rule with this perspective, you will realize that he's technically firefighting, or he's technically trying to find a solution to his major economic problems. You would have heard of the concept that Aurangzeb stopped a lot of practices. For example, he stopped the concept that every Mughal emperor on his birthday used to be weighed on gold and silver, and the gold and silver was then distributed to the people. Have you heard about this? The concept of distributing gold and silver vis-a-vis the weight of the king. But Aurangzeb stopped that. Tell me why. Why would you stop distributing gold and silver when it comes to your birthday? Because people thought it was a religious act, but technically he doesn't have money only. So Shah Jahan could give it, Jahangir could give it, Akbar started it. But Aurangzeb does not have money, so why will he distribute it to the people itself? So what I'm trying to create here is, an image. The image in front of you, and see, very simply, this is how I teach. One thing I'm telling you, there's a structure in which I will give you understanding, then I will give you the nitty-gritty from the PPT, and then I will summarize. And I hope this will work for you. If you want, I can change the strategy. That's a separate issue altogether. But I always first create understanding, then I give you the details, and then I give you a summary. This is the basic way I go on. So the picture in front of you, see, the concept of 8 to 9 El Nino years is that El Nino reduces rainfall. So you see, Aurangzeb is ruling. He's ruling. And now there's an economic crisis due to the overspending under Shah Jahan. So your natural impulse is going to be tries to increase taxation. On agriculture. However, there's a problem. The problem is that agriculture, the productivity or yield falls due to successive failure of monsoons. Can we agree to these three things? Yield means how much is going to be produced. One land gives how much? 10 kg, 50 kg, whatever. Yield. So he is in an economic crisis and he is now going to increase taxes. If he is going to increase the taxes, agriculture cannot, technically the peasant not in a position to pay more. They can't pay more. You take 1/3, you take half. They can't pay more. So if the people can't pay more and you create burden on them, what is going to happen? Very good, Shubhranshu. agrarian revolt. People said enough is enough. We will not pay. We will not pay only. We will not pay only. So Aurangzeb, because of his foolishness, from an economic crisis, now has also added to the empire an agrarian revolt, which is peasants giving up agriculture and saying, you take the taxes from the land. We will not do anything. We can't pay you this much. Successive failure of monsoon is happening. We are not in a position to pay. We won't pay only. So now you see how the crisis is deepening. So economic crisis is there, and now you add agriculture in crisis also. These 2 points clear, everyone. Are you able to create this chain of thought and the basic cause and effect here? I need everybody's assertion, then only I go forward. Yes? Basic point, I am repeating myself. Economic crisis because of overspending of Shah Jahan in turn leads to Aurangzeb trying to extract more from agriculture. However, he is unlucky because basically he is not able to increase taxes, or is increasing taxes when the peasant does not have the capacity to pay, and therefore the cascading effect, the domino effect of that is that agriculture is also in crisis. So when we talk about the first 3 reasons for Mughal decline, the first 3 reasons, first is Aurangzeb destabilizes the peace and harmony of the empire. Don't have to write this, you will get it in annotated PPT. Everything I write down, you will get it after the class. Aurangzeb destabilizes the peace and harmony of the empire by his religious policy. The economic crisis of the Shah Jahan period is inherited by him. And third is that because of that, too much taxation with failure in monsoon leads to agrarian revolt. We'll do Aurangzeb's religious policy in medieval. You just trust me that he's not a person known for good thing when it comes to religious policy. So his religious policy being the fact that he had mustashibs, he removed Navroz, he stopped most of the processes, he started to go after a lot of rulers and their temples which were very prosperous. There's all this whole story. The discussion, we do it in medieval. Peace and harmony of the empire is shaken by his religious policy. The biggest blunder he will do is he will technically alienate the Rajputs. Rajputs were the most important pillar of Mughal rule in India. And because he will start to meddle into the Rathod politics, it will in turn lead to the the Rajputs abandoning Aurangzeb. And that was already the starting of the end. So Aurangzeb's policies has removed at the central level peace and harmony. Economic crisis has been inherited by him, and too much taxation has created agrarian revolt. Agrarian means agriculture. So these 3 points we can agree on, because there is another set of issues which are much more systemic to the Mughals. Great, perfect. Now, if you go a step further, the next most important problem with the Mughals is called Jagirdari crisis. You would have heard it somewhere. Satish Chandra's very, very well documented reason, Jagirdari crisis. Now, what is Jagirdari crisis? So the word Jagirdari originates from the administrative setup of the Mughals, which is also called Mansabdari. Mansabdari. Mansabdari is technically, Mansabdari same thing. Mansabdari is the larger word. Jagirdari is a subset of it. So Mansabdari is the bureaucratic system, is the bureaucracy of the Mughals. So there's a very elaborate ranking system, As per every rank, you get a salary. And the Mughals, and I'm again going to do this in a lot of detail with you in medieval, but the Mughals, what they used to do, on every rank, they give a salary, but they can give you the salary two ways. Either they give you salary in cash, or the second is that they give you that salary in the form of what we call as Jagirs. First three reasons are related to agriculture, agrarian revolt, related to the concept of too much exploitation of the peasantry, economic crisis, and religious policy of Aurangzeb. But the second, the third, and the fourth, what is called the next set of issues, are because the Mughal Empire, the backbone of the Mughal Empire is the Mansabdari system, and the Mansabdari system will start to crumble. As I said, you are an officer. You are liable to a salary. You will become an IS officer. So you will have, again, I'm giving you a very simplistic picture. Zat, Savar, Ekaspa, Duaspa, we'll do it in medieval. I'm not complicating it here. Very simply, the point is, you're an officer, you get a salary. When you get a salary, you can get it two ways, either in cash or in Jagirs. Jagir is mean land. You get a land grant or you get a revenue assignment, and you take your salary out of the land. I'll give you a very simple example. You are the DM of Agra, for example. So the government of India can give you two-way salary. One, it can transfer that 1.1 lakh rupees to you in your account. That would be which type of solution to your salary? Cash or Jagir? Cash. Now, the government of India becomes bankrupt, or the government of India is finding it difficult to get that 1.1 lakh rupees. So what they do is they say, I give you your salary in the form of the Jagir. Meaning, Agra is your Jagir. Collect the revenue, whatever the revenue it is your salary. So basically, Jagirs are land revenue assignments given to the officers in lieu of their service. You are paid through the revenue of that land. It's a much easier system because you don't have to do the headache of transferring, and cash, gold and silver is something which is in limited supply. So in the whole Mughal administration, there's an army of Jagirdars, which is that these Jagirdars are nothing but Mansabdars or officers who are getting their salary in the form of land revenue, which they collect from their Jagir. The word Jagir itself means it's exactly the same as Ikta, if you understand Ikta. The basic point of the matter is you collect the land revenue as your salary. Is this making sense? Again, very simplistic understanding, complication when we discuss medieval India. What is the difference between Jagirdar and Mansabdar? A Mansabdar can be paid in cash, but a Jagirdar is paid, a Mansabdar who is paid in land is called Jagirdar. I'll give you a very simple line and you should be able to figure it out. Not every Mansabdar is a Jagirdar, but every Jagirdar is a Mansabdar. I mean, basically, I'm an officer. If I get it in cash, I'm a Mansabdar. But if I get my salary in land, I'm a Jagirdar. But again, as I said, the system is a little bit more complicated than what I'm telling you. But for the purpose of this discussion, bureaucracy, the Mughal administration is based on a very elaborate system of Mansabdars and Jagirdars who get their salary either in cash and either in land. And this is the way the whole empire works. And these Jagirdars and Mansabdars are the army of IS officers, for example, who run the empire. Is this clear? Every Jagirdar is a Mansabdar, but not every Mansabdar is a Jagirdar. Right? Is this making sense? Again, as I said, much complicated than this, but for the purpose of modern India, this is enough. Right? Okay. Jagirdar gets salary from land revenue. Jagirdar is nothing but a Mansabdar who gets. If you hold a Jagir, a Mansabdar becomes a Jagirdar. If you don't hold a Jagir, you're still a Mansabdar. Right? If you understand Ikta, then Iktidar, same thing. Basic point. So, simple point. It is a bureaucracy. It is a bureaucracy. And I want you to understand this. It is a bureaucracy. You get two types of salaries, cash or land. Can we agree to this? A Mansabdar is an officer. Can we agree to this? Very simply, Mansabdari is the whole bureaucratic system of the Mughals. They pay them in either salary, cash, or either in Jagirs. Can we agree to this? Then only I go forward. Because this is going to become distorted very soon. Very, very soon. If land revenue is more than salary, then what do? Shalu, they have to transfer that money to the center. That is again a nitty-gritty aspect. If more, then you transfer it to the center, which is you send it to Agra. If less, it's not the problem of the king. Again, Ashima, I'm very simply saying the Jagirdar Mansabdar system is nothing but the bureaucracy of the Mughals. Rank officers get a salary according to their rank. That rank gives them a salary. Salary can be paid in cash or can be paid in Jagir. Jagir is nothing but a land which is given to you. You collect the revenue from the land. It can be equal to or more than your salary. If equal to, then that is your salary itself. More than, send it to the king. And less than, no one cares, because emperors don't care about the welfare of their bureaucracy. That this is not the concept of democracy. It is all based on this concept. Okay. Now, every Jagirdar is a Mansabdar, but not every Mansabdar is a Jagirdar. Meaning, Mansabdars are two types, salary and non-salary in that sense. Okay. Yes, Pranay, yes, basic point is this. Mansabdar is an officer, is an officer. What about royal Mughals? How could they operate if all were good? Again, Anuj, I'm coming to that because they divided the empire into two parts. I'm coming to that. Do you understand the basic concept? Then I'm going to go a step further. Don't worry about that. You understand this? Yes, that is why I said Mansabdar is the bigger word. Jagirdar is a subset of Mansabdars. Very good. Now, simple. Till today, if somebody has to taunt you and you are using something very, quite a lot, what do they say in North India? Apni Jagir samajh rakhiye. That you think of it like a Jagir. Don't they see that? Ki you think of that land as your Jagir. That very simply, that word is coming from that only. That you basically think of that revenue coming from that area as your own. Jagir is nothing but revenue assignment to an officer in lieu of salary. If I want to use the technical definition, Jagirs are revenue assignments given to officers or Mansabdars in lieu of their service to the empire. The land revenue equals to their salary. Okay. Now, obviously the state is not dumb. The state is not done. I'm not writing these things, Shalu, because I will do this with you properly in medieval India. I'm just trying to give you I'm trying to give you basics here because that is what is needed. We are not doing it in detail because there's something called Zat Sabha. That is something I do in medieval. Don't worry about that. You have to trust me here that I will do it in medieval with you. I'm just explaining the basic concept to you. Can we agree to this? I told you, I have to control this area because it is technically properly medieval. Okay. So, the state is obviously not dumb. They will not give all land to Jagirs. So what they used to do was that they used to divide the empire into two parts. One is called Khalisa and the other one is called Paybaki. Paybaki. Again, something properly medieval. Paybaki, Khalisa is technically center or crown controlled land and no jagirs are given here. So according to the quality of land, the best land is going to be Khalisa or worst land is going to be Khalisa. Use your logic, basic logic. Best land, the best fertility based land was put under Khalisa. So basically what they used to do, everything between the Ganga and Yamuna, which is called the Doab. Ab means water. Doab, two waters, Ganga and Yamuna, and they keep it under Khalisa. Now, after that, whatever is left is called Paybaki. Jo bach gaya, what is Baki? Paybaki. And it is in Paybaki that they allocate jagirs. Allocate jagirs. Now, very simply, again I'm repeating because I'm going to ask you a very important question. Jagirdar, we have discussed three reasons, which is agrarian crisis, the concept of economic crisis, and Aurangzeb's religious policy. Now on the other side, there is this bureaucratic system which is called Mansabdari system. It is the backbone of the empire. And in this backbone of the empire, the empire is divided into two parts. Khalisa, which is crown land. Nobody has no jagirs here. Everything goes directly to Agra and then thereafter to Delhi. And there is Paybaki, in which jagirs are given. If you have a very big salary, rather than giving it to you in cash, they give it to you in the form of jagirs. The advantage of jagir is very simple. The headache of day-to-day administration is on the jagirdar, on the mansabdar. They do general administration, they do revenue administration, they do everything themselves. The state does not have to care about anything. Is this point clear? Only jagirdars are given land in Paybaki. Paybaki is where technically allocation of land is there. Okay, now you tell me one thing. Yeah, Khalisa is like UT. Very good, Amit. Very good. Great. If you can understand that analogy. Now, if you are in an agrarian crisis, you will, or if you're in an economic crisis, you will increase Khalisa land or decrease Khalisa land. I'll repeat it again, but you'd give me this answer. You will increase because you want more central revenue, so you will increase Khalisa land. Mansabdari system, say ni, come on, everyone who wants me to repeat, very simply, Mansabdari system is the backbone bureaucratic system of the empire. They get salaries in two ways, cash or land. Land is given when your salary is too much and it is easier for the administration of the whole empire. They are called jagirdars or jagirdar mansabdars, and they get land revenue as their form of salary. Now the economic crisis has hit Aurangzeb. So he will obviously the word Paybaki means if this is the whole empire, if Khalisa is this, then this is Paybaki. Paybaki is the land available for allocation of Jagir. Now is it making sense? What is Paybaki? Everybody, because there's still a little bit of confusion. I don't want that. So if there's an economic crisis, you would want to increase this and you would want to decrease this because you want central revenue to come. Jagirs are given within the Paybaki. This is a Jagir. Jagirs are given within the Paybaki, right? So now you see, till Shah Jahan, number of Jagirs was less than the number of, rather was more than the number of Jagirdars. What does this mean? For example, Pritam, I have not seen your comment. For example, there were 1000 Jagirs available, but there were only 500 officers. Is this a favorable position or not a favorable position? Is it a favorable position? Yes, it is favorable because you have more land and less officers. This gives you stability. Don't worry, I will bring everything together. Don't worry about that. So you have more land and less officers. But the problem which Aurangzeb has is that Jagirs are less and Jagirdars are more. Now what is going to happen? Technically, this is called the Jagirdari crisis. Jagirdari crisis. Which is that now Jagirdars will start to compete with each other to get the best Jagir. Imagine IAS officers fighting with each other for getting posting. Because if they don't get a good posting, they will not get a good salary. So now you see the way the Aurangzeb problem is becoming bigger and bigger. You see, now let me bring everything together. Very simply, he has one systemic issue, which is the economic crisis. Economic crisis created by overspending. The solution he finds to it is increase the tax on peasant, but failure of monsoons. What will be the product of this? The product of this is going to be an agrarian crisis. Is this part of the story clear? Come on, tell me. Is this part of the story clear? Yes, it is. Now, add to this, there is a major crisis in the empire which you can call as the Jagirdari crisis, which is an administrative crisis, wherein, and I'm writing it down, in order to increase the revenue, Khalisa land was expanded, reduced the Paybaki land, and the basic point of the matter is, the conclusion to this is, Jagirdars outnumber the number of Jagirs. And what is going to happen is, this will create instability, competition, corruption, and basically no officer cares about administration now. It's about how much you can extract, because you don't know if the Jagir is going to be there or not. And this increase in number of Jagirdars is also because Aurangzeb is constantly fighting in the Deccan. So whenever he captures an area, he, in order to appease the people, adds them into the Jagirdar. Basic point is, imagine the number of officers in India, IS officers in India, exceeded the allocated budget for their salary. Are you getting my point? That basically the officers outnumber the available land itself. So the Jagirdari crisis will become an administrative crisis, which will then be compounded with Aurangzeb's religious policy, which is going to destabilize the empire further, and together this is called Mughal decline. This is called Mughal decline. One Jagir is equal to how much area of land? Sachin, Jagirs could be as big as Bengal, could be as small as a small village. The basic point of the matter is, if you look at only Aurangzeb's religious policy, you forget that there is a much bigger crisis in the Mughal Empire, which is cascading and creating, again, economic crisis because of overspending, increase the taxes, monsoon fails, agrarian crisis. Agrarian crisis is compounded with Jagirdari crisis because the administrative setup is breaking down, and then Aurangzeb also is not following a good policy of religion. All this comes together and creates Mughal decline. So no, the administrative crisis is not creating Aurangzeb's religious policy. When I showed you this basic slide, rebellion, agrarian distress, Jagirdari crisis, and economic bankruptcy, these three are connected to each other, and if you add to this, you get the proper reason for Mughal decline. So in the examination, if they say consider the following: agrarian revolt, economic distress, religious policy, and weak successors, or one random reason, will you be able to identify the causes of the decline of the Mughals? Yes or no? Yes? So very simply, if you will read any standard book, or if you'll go to basic stories, long story short, there are multiple reasons to the decline of the Mughals. Aurangzeb's religious policy is one of the many which are already there. And why am I having this discussion with you? Because this is what the successors of Aurangzeb are going to inherit, and they are the ones who will start to give the Europeans power. So can I now assume and consider that you understand the Mughal decline process? Because then I add two more factors to it, and then we technically can move to something which is relevant for the examination further. Very simply, Aurangzeb was one of the reasons for a lot of decline. A lot of students, what they do is, because of limited understanding, they mark only Aurangzeb's religious policy. But if you are my student, you have to have a nuanced understanding of everything. So it's a proper crisis which is coming together. Agrarian crisis is when peasants start to revolt. This is peasant revolting. So peasants revolting. If you look at it, Aurangzeb's empire was technically burning. Peasants were running away, not paying taxes. His administration is internally fighting. He does not have money and basically agriculture is failing. And over and above that, he did not help that he himself was also useless because he followed a policy which alienated everyone. Religious policy, very simply, is how he alienated or removed the Rajputs from administration, a very important backbone which we will discuss, and the way he followed a policy of being a staunch Muslim. And again, disharmony was introduced into the empire because of his orientation to religious tolerance. But as I said, all of these things I will discuss with you again in 7 hours in medieval India. So can I trust the concept that you understand this? I am multiple times repeating because I don't want you to think that there is this thing which doesn't work. Is this logical or is this actually only factual? This is logical. This is the basic point. It's a crisis in making. It's a crisis in making. Slowly, 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 everything is coming together. Very simply, economic leads to agrarian, in turn leads to Jagirdari. Jagirdari, you add his religious policy, you get Mughal decline. It's a recipe. It's a recipe. You start the pan, heat it up with economic crisis, add a little bit of agrarian crisis, add a little bit of Jagirdari, add Swad Anusar, a little bit of pinch of religious policy, and what you get is Mughal decline. Done? Can I move to the next two and what is actually relevant for the medieval part of this story, or rather the modern part of this story? Okay. See, now it doesn't help that when you are at the weakest point, you do not have money, and then two people, Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali, they actually invaded India at this point of time in 1739 and 8 times between 1748 to 1767. These two are called invaders. Basically, Central Asian invaders who do not care who rules India, but they want to loot Delhi. So now imagine that I gave you 100 rupees and you technically do not have the 100 rupees also, and you've taken some 100 rupees more from your friend, and now someone else comes and steals that 100 rupees from you. These are called Northwestern invaders. These are two rulers from the West Asian dynasties, West Asian empires, who randomly stroll into India and they say, okay, give us your money, loot India and go back. They loot India and go back. Now, this is even more problematic because if things were not as bad as they were, now there are two rulers who totally ransacked Delhi, destroyed Delhi, took away its money, whatever was left, central treasury they looted. So the basic point is, how did they loot? They came, they defeated the ruler, they killed people, they went into central treasury, took the gold and went back. So what I mean to say is, if things were not bad enough, these factors can also, they are technically coming from, all invaders in India come from the northwestern sector. They're coming from the Pakistan and Punjab sector, entering into India, looting Delhi and going back. And the beauty of this is, or the sad part I want to say, Abdali did not come once, twice, thrice. He came 8 times to India. Every time came, took something, went back. Came, took something, went back. What I'm trying to argue here is, why is that the Indian civilization, why is that the mighty Mughals, why is that India went into the subjugation of the British? What was that? 17 times is Ghazni. This is 8 times. 8 times. 8 times. What is that? What is that? Ghazni Gori are Delhi Sultanate, 1200s, 1130, 1191. That's a separate issue altogether. The basic point of the matter is, how did India come to this position that some random white men came and took our country away from us? And what I'm trying to tell you is, when they came into India, India was in a major crisis when it comes to administrative, economic, agrarian, and generally because it was being destabilized by constant invasions from the west or the northwestern sector. Is this clear? India was always rich, has always been rich. We were made what we are today in a city, in a country when poverty was never known by the British. That is the story what we are doing here. Very simply, this discussion is to create, as I told you, I'm creating a picture. This is the trailer. The trailer is now set. The trailer is now set. There's an agrarian crisis. There's a Jagirdari crisis. There's an economic crisis. There's an increase in taxation. There's a ruler who does not understand religion. And there are invaders. Now, can I add the actors to this story? They only invade to loot. They only invade to loot. Great, great. See, one thing should be clear. UPSC has not asked till now in modern India the question related to Mughal decline. But I'm trying to give you an understanding here, because at least you should be able to write an answer in which you are giving them multiple causes. Because if you don't give them multiple causes, the examiner will realize that you just generally randomly know Aurangzeb's religious policy. So now, Mughals have declining, and it doesn't help that the successors of Aurangzeb were also fools and useless rulers. So in this whole list, if you see, invasions done, economic Jagirdari crisis done, agrarian distress done, religious policy done, economic bankruptcy done. Can I discuss this? Because this is where a very standard questions come from in the examination. Okay. Immediate cause is technically invasions and weak successors. Religious policy is much more systemic to Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was already dead by 1707. Okay. Now, rebellion means people fighting. Now see, again, try to understand. The canvas or India, there's an agrarian crisis, there's an economic crisis, there is invasions happening, and there is what is called as disharmony and conflict. And on this basic canvas, if you add a Jagirdari crisis, see, a good ruler could have stopped this crisis. A good ruler could have stopped this crisis. But what happens is that Aurangzeb's successors are weak, useless, and have no understanding of how to stop this crisis. Maybe if Akbar came after Aurangzeb, he could have controlled it. Jahangir came after Aurangzeb, he could have controlled it. But his weak successors, the people who followed after him, had no idea how to stop this process itself. And now in the examination, two type of questions come. First is, you can be asked to put them in chronological order, and I'll give you a very important trick for that today. And the other would be that because the people we are going to talk about are the people who are interacting with the British, you need to know who they are. So the purpose of the discussion which is going to follow, is it clear? Because I'm going to give you the trick to learn the weak successors, but I will also you need to know why we are discussing this in the larger perspective. Right. Great. Okay. Now, first and foremost point, don't look at this. Do not have to learn their years. I've given it for reference, but you don't have to learn it. Don't have to learn it in any way or form. Now, the first ruler to follow Aurangzeb is a person called Bahadur Shah first. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two words from his name. Ba. See, a lot of you would know this is called acronym making. You know what is acronym making? What is the concept of acronym making? That you make small words which give you a trick to solve that basic problem. So very simply, a lot of you will do this, B, J, B, M, but the problem is there are two B's. So how would you know which is which B? So always take first two words. So you have B.A. Bahadur Shah. After 2-year-long battle of succession, 63-year-old Prince Muzaram, he took the title Bahadur Shah, the eldest son of Aurangzeb, came to power and he took the title of Bahadur Shah. However, very short-lived rule in that sense, and he will be followed by a person called Jahandar Shah. You see, very small, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, not very long rules. Now, Jahandar Shah had been appointed by a person called Zulfikar Khan, who was a noble of the emperor, and he will appoint himself as prime minister, and Jahandar Shah will be made the king. Now, for me, what is more important is Baja. Can you remember Baja? Yes or no? You can remember Baja? Yes. So I'm now making a mnemonic. You see, Baja, Bahadur Shah, Jahandar. He is the first. He is the second. Baja. Till this point, everybody is with me. Come on. Everybody is with me till this point. Nothing is stuck. Nothing is there. Everything is perfect. So, Bahadur Shah first fights with his other sons of Aurangzeb to come to power. He is very quickly killed by Zulfikar Khan, and Zulfikar Khan installs Jahandar Shah into the throne. You will see all are more or less puppet rulers. Okay. Now, Baja. Let's do one thing. Let's make the acronym first itself. Farrukhsiyar. Rafi. Mu. Baja. Farmu. Bahadur Shah, Jahandar, Farrukhsiyar, Raifuddin, and Muhammad Shah. This is called mnemonic making. It helps in generally in the examination, not just in history, helps in polity, geography, any subject in that sense. And Baja, Farmu, we will keep on expanding it. But the basic point here is we will make these type of tricks to reduce our load of not learning their dates. And why am I putting them in this exact order? You tell me, why am I putting them in this exact order? What is the logic of putting them in this exact order? Yes, very good. Technically, they are already in chronological order. So I don't need to learn the dates. I don't need to learn the dates. I just need to learn this acronym, and basically for prelims my work is done. So let's do one thing. Let's make the whole mnemonic. Baja farmu al shah baja farmu Ahmad Shah, Alamgir, and Shah Alam. Then last two, Akba, or the point is Ak, but now Bahadur Shah are two, so Akba two. Now let's consolidate. We'll talk about them later. For the purpose of the examination, Baja Faramu al Shah Akbatu. Baja Farmu Al Shah Akbatu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now do I need to learn their dates? No. So very simply, learn this. I'm going to test it with you right now. Baja Bahadur Shah 1, Jahandar Shah, Farooq Siar, Raifuddin, Muhammad Shah Rangila, as he's called, Muhammad Shah, Ahmad Shah, Alamgir, Shah Alam. You have then Akba, these last two, Akbar 2 and Bahadur. So Akbar 2, Bahadur Shah 2. We'll discuss about the jizya, don't worry about that. So 10 rulers are now in front of you in sequence. But you will say, sir, why do I need to learn first two? Because there are too many A's. AAA, AAS, AB, J, they're getting repeated. Now, Akbar 2 can be 2 for Akbar 2 also and Bahadur Shah also. I'm not saying Bahadur Shah again because then Baja 2 would automatically give you an understanding that Bahadur, you can make anything you want. The basic point of the matter is, this is something which you need to develop in yourself. So what I did was, I didn't care about this, but rather I created this. I'm giving you 1 minute, 30 seconds to look at this. And I'm going to give you a question. Just let's exercise something in class. Baja Faramu Ahmad Al Shah Akbatu. If you're ready, you give me a thumbs up and then I'll give you a question. Let's practice in between class itself. Why not? Done? Baja Farmu Al Shah Akba 2. Very good. Ready? Great. So consider the following. And let me write the question and then answer it. I'll use the polling feature with you. Don't worry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play with 4 only. Now, very simply, Jahandar Shah, Bahadur Shah 2, Muhammad Shah Rangila and Farrukhsiyar. Right? A, B. I'm giving you the options. I'm giving you the options. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 4, 3, 2. 1, 3, 4, 2. And 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, wait. Let's use this feature. When we have it, why not? Come on, everybody. When it's over, we'll see how many of you got it right or wrong. Come on. Perfect. Great. 73% of you got it right, which is the fourth option. See, ba, tour. This has to be in the end. There are two options in the end. Now, ba, ja. So 1, 3 options are there. So these two have to be the answer, either B or C. Then ba, ja, faramu. So Farrukhsiyar 4, then 3, and then 1. And now you're getting the purpose of this discussion. What is given as the detail is a separate issue altogether. But now in the examination, will you ever leave this question? Very simply, I made this ba, ja, faramu, al, sha, ak, ba, tu. Now, I didn't need to see anything except for this two, first two. So, Bahadur Shah 2 is in the end because it's the last. So, we need to see 2. Then, Ja, Fa, Ramu. This is Jahandar Shah, then Farrukhsiyar, then Muhammad Shah Rangila, and then. Make sense? Make sense? Can I now just tell you about them a little bit? Great. So remember this, if you can make a better one, be my guest, and I would like you to email me the better one. If not, you keep it as a trade secret for yourself. Basic point is, UPSC I can vouch for this, Diksha, UPSC has never and will never care about dates. History is much more than dates. So please understand this very, very clearly. UPSC will not say, give me the date of Bahadur Shah's rule. They will ask you chronological questions. And this is why I will tell you, most of modern India, I will not teach you through what we call as the dates. I will teach you through sequences. And that ways, you will never be needed to learn too many dates. Basic dates, obviously, you need to check. I need to know. But this is called smart study. This is called smart study. UPSC is cleared not by hard work, but smart hard work. So my thing is, if there is anybody in class who says and claims that I can learn 10 ruler sequence of dates, take a gold medal from me. If you can remember it after 10 days. But I don't think anybody is that firstly, you're not a robot, and more than that, you are not going to waste your time, I hope, with regards to this. Stop thinking about dates. I will give you a sequence of dates. You will remember that, and it is my responsibility to teach you dates if it matters. You obviously need to know that when is August offer coming, when is Scripps mission coming. In this part of the story, only what matters to you is basic sequences, right? Right. Can we discuss the basics of these people? We can? Great. So, Bahadur Shah, he is the eldest son of Aurangzeb. 63-year-old man comes in a crisis, more or less useless. Now, his own noble, Zulfikar Khan, will technically betray him and appoint another ruler called Jahandar Shah. Now, you tell me, in an economic crisis, Does this concept make sense? Jahandar Shah abolished jizya. Jizya is a tax which is paid by non-Muslim population to a Muslim ruler for their rule itself. It's a religious-based tax. India is close to 90% non-Muslim. So if you have a crisis, would you remove the jizya or jizya? No. And this is why these rulers don't know how to arrest the crisis itself. But they just wanted to appease because their forefather had already done a major mistake of, see, Aurangzeb also brings back jizya, but then he is removing it. Aurangzeb brought back jizya because he wanted more revenue to come into the empire. But he didn't understand the logic and he just removed it. So two rulers, Baja. Now, please, for the purpose of the examination and for the purpose of this discussion, do not forget this person's name. Farrukh Siyar. Farrukh Siyar is the one who gave one of the biggest farmans or biggest orders, farman is nothing but order, to the British, which led to the establishment of British rule in India. So, Jahandar Shah will come to power with the help of two power makers or two nobles. Nobles are nothing but council of ministers. Abdullah Khan and Hussein Ali, called together the Sayyid brothers. And he will become the emperor with the help of nobles. You see, imagine it's that type of an situation that the ministers are appointing the prime minister. So it shows you the level of incompetence of the minister, of the king itself or the emperor itself. He followed a religious policy which was tolerant, again abolishing jizya again. But his role in our story of what we call, not Golden Farman is Golconda ruler. That's a separate issue altogether. Golden Farman is much before than this. 1717, if in the next class, I will say Farrukh Siyar, you will be able to identify who he is. If you can, that the purpose of this discussion is done. Great. So you will be able to identify there's a person called Farrukh Siyar. Farrukh Siyar is a weak, late Mughal ruler. Now, Refu Dharanjan, the biggest accomplishment was shortest period of rule, February to June. By the time we finished modern India, his rule was over. That is the level of control he actually had. Muhammad Shah, he is known for his very lavish lifestyle in an economic crisis. That is why it's called Muhammad Shah Rangila. His luxurious lifestyle obviously was not helping. He will also come via the help of his nobles, same Sayyid brothers. They thought Farrukh Siyar is useless, so they installed someone else, kingmakers. His real name is Roshan Akhtar, but he takes the name Muhammad Shah Rangila. His most competent thing, whatever you want to call him, or his most famous thing is, it is under him that Nadir Shah comes to India and he defeats, or rather Nadir Shah defeats Rangila at Karnal, at the Battle of Karnal, and thereafter rampages through Delhi and loots it. So he tried to protect, but this Rangila did not have the power to stop Nadir Shah, much more powerful, much more ruthless. So Baja, Faramu, clear. Real name of ruler, no one cares. You will realize that there is much more to modern India than this, but this is all the part of establishment of British Raj. We can't skip it. Is this clear? Can I move on? Muhammad Shah Rangila, nothing but installed by the same Sayyid brothers. Rangila for his lifestyle. Nadir Shah comes under his rule. So in the examination, if it says Nadir Shah and it says in front of him Farrukh Siyar, is it correctly matched or not? I'll tell you, Preetham, what is pilgrimage tax. It is not correctly matched because Nadir Shah came during the rule of Muhammad Shah Rangila. So I'm again simulating the context in which the UPSC is going to ask this question. Though fortunately, and I hope that is going to be the case, UPSC is not asked any question from this area only. They have not bothered because there is too much to ask from modern India to ask this in the examination. Now, what is pilgrimage tax? There are two taxes which non-Muslims pay. Jizya, which is a tax for protection. Pilgrimage is if you're going to a pilgrimage. For example, you're going to Kedarnath during Mughal India. So you need to pay a tax to go for that pilgrimage itself. It's self-explanatory. Now, Ahmad Shah, incompetent ruler. So your basic CV says incompetent ruler. So it should be very explanatory that how good he was in that sense. Now he is succeeded by one of the grandsons of Jahandar Shah, Alamgir II. Ahmad Shah Abdali hit his rule and Shah Alam's rule. Basically, these two rulers were the ones who took Abdali, and Abdali came to India 8 times. So very simply, he is going to hit both Alamgir II and Shah Alam II. But what is equally important is the Battle of Plassey is going to happen under him. The Battle of Plassey is going to happen under him. One of the first turning points of Indian history, which we'll discuss, I think, on Friday, if not Friday, Monday. Then Shah Alam II. Again, extremely important because third Battle of Panipat, Marathas versus Abdali, which again we will discuss, and Battle of Buxar, Diwani rights, all given under him. Now, for the purpose of the examination again, 3 names become very important. Farrukhsiyar, Alamgir II, Shah Alam II. You can remember these 3. I'm marking them in a different color. Shah Alam II, Alamgir II, and Farrukhsiyar. Please, these 3 names never forget, irrespective of anything. I'll give you a strategy to learn this also. Can I tell you the strategy of learning facts? Okay. The strategy of learning facts is called It's called 15 minutes rule. It's called, class will end at 8:30. It's called 15 minutes rule. What is 15 minutes rule? 15 minutes rule is every morning 15 minutes and every evening 15 minutes. Tomorrow what you are going to do is, you are going to learn in the morning Baja Farmu, Ahalsha Akbatu, Shah Alam, Alamgir and Jahanda and Farrukhsiyar. Learn it for 15 minutes. Take a bite size. Don't try to gobble up too much. There's a very important concept. History is like a pizza. Do you eat a pizza, just fold it and put it in your throat? No, you don't. You divide the pizza into pieces and you eat it via piece by piece. Same way, divide the given data into bite-sized pieces which you can manage. Somebody can manage 10, somebody can manage 5, doesn't matter. So in the morning 15 minutes, learn this acronym, learn these 3 names. Now whole day, whatever you're doing, chilling, studying, working, whatever you're doing, from time to time try to recall these facts. And in the night, you should be able to remember these facts. If not, then you revise again and make sure that once you come out of this process, those 4 facts are in your mind and you will repeat this process. Drought, thunder, cyclone, earthquake, anything. You will repeat this irrespective of anything. initially it will take you maybe, for example, 30 days to do a certain number of facts. But as you will go on, the time will start to reduce. And you have 365 days. I believe that if a student actually in a disciplined religious way does 15 minutes rule, after 300 days, he has the capacity to stand here than being there. So is this concept making sense? 15 minutes rule. It is only for facts. Learning facts needs repetition. Constant repetition. So whatever I'm saying and marking is very important. Learn it, keep it with you. Okay, perfect. So last two rulers, Akbar II, he gave the title Raja to Raja Ram Mohan Roy. We will discuss him in Social Reform Movement. And he also was the one who stopped the Mughal emperor's coins, meaning the coins on which Mughal emperor's name used to be there. And this old man, 80-year-old man, we will discuss in lot of detail, Bahadur Zafar, when we discuss, yes, India, any day. We will discuss very simply in 1857, Bahadur Zafar, last Mughal emperor, the last Mughal ruler. 15 minutes rule, nothing but learn certain facts in the morning 15 minutes, try to revise them and remember them in the last 15 minutes before you sleep. Repeat this process every day. Okay? Now, is this clear? Basic story clear? Right? Now, for the curious people who believe that I've either not given you all the data or there is more to the story, this is the family tree of the Mughals in India. This is the family tree of the Mughals in India. Now, Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, the whole world knows. But now you should be able to identify Bahadur Shah, Jahandar Shah, then Farrukhsiyar, then Refuddin, then Shah Alam II, rather Shah Alam, Muhammad Shah Rangila, Ahmad Shah Alamgir, Shah Akbar, Bahadur Shah. See, this you do not learn, obviously do not learn. But I've given it for you to get a snapshot of what we've done till this point. Very simply, my casting is complete. First casting is complete, which is that now when I say Farrukhsiyar, Alamgir II and Shah Alam, it should not sound to you as something new. I hope that is the case here, everyone. Yes? Great. Now, we pivot towards the more, see, this is something which I'll do with you in medieval again, but the emphasis will be on the other part of the story. Before I go forward, I just have a very simple question to you. Is this making sense? Because you should not be sitting there thinking that it's not making sense either. I'm constantly asking you this. I will keep on doing that as I go on. I'm trying to create a picture. Initially, it will take time, but as we go on, you will start to understand better. Once the engine here is a little bit hot, you will see everything will come to you very quickly. Do not need to run away from anything. Don't need to think about this story too much. Basic facts, I'm telling you, they are more than enough. I know what is going to come in the examination. So I will not give you unnecessary information. My PPTs never, ever have unnecessary information, because bare minimum what you need to know is already there. Unnecessary information, what they are doing this, doing that, does not matter to me. I have to make you an IS officer, and that is the only task here right now. I don't have to make you a historian. I don't have to make you a specialist of Mughal India. I have to make you an IS officer. And that is what I'm going to do. So very standard, smart study with regards to modern, but equally comprehensive in that sense. right? Can I move and go into the European aspect? Here it's little bit lighter. The factual part is done. Lighter, a little bit lighter. Okay. Great. Great, great, great. SMEs, please take Shalu's question. Now comes the $1 million question. Why did the Europeans come to India, or why were they desperate to come to India? For this, we need to look at the world a little bit. The world a little bit. See, India was connected to the world via what we call as a land route. Start from somewhere here, goes till the east. This is called the land route. So you start from, for example, Amritsar, you go till Multan, Lahore, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. Thereafter you go to the Caspian Sea sector. Then you reach the west. But why was the West so obsessed with the Indian sector? It was obsessed for 3 very important commodities. What are these 3 important commodities? Very good. Pepper, cloth, silk, or cotton. Tea, not right now. Tea is a very British thing. The most important commodity here is pepper, which is called black gold. Black gold. What is the purpose of pepper? Very good. Pranay, very good. Sneha, very good. Everybody, great. Vishal, Banu, Prabhu, very good. Which is that pepper is a very good preservative. If you keep meat in cold, it will start to rotten up. So rather you sprinkle a little bit of pepper and it will technically preserve the meat for longer. They needed pepper like anything. Would die for pepper. Would literally die for pepper. Cotton cloth, cotton silk, generally important. From China, they were obsessed with Chinese silk. That is why it was also called the Silk Route. So Indian sectors used to meet the Silk Route and then it used to go to Europe. Muslin, as we call it, yes, calico, muslin, we'll discuss that. But what happens is that in 1400, the land route becomes problematic for the Europeans. And the reason for that is whom? Very good, Yashovarman, very good. The reason, Anuj, great. The reason for that is 3 empires will emerge, but specifically one major empire will block the route. And that empire, as all of you have already pointed out to me, are the Ottomans. See, between 1400 to 1550, 3 empires rose in the world. In India, who rose by 1550? The Mughals, very good. So the Mughals are here. Iran goes to another very interesting empire, and this empire was called, and you would have again heard of them, they are called the Safavids. Safavids are Iranian rulers, Muslims, but Iranian. But the biggest problem for the Europeans was not these 2, but rather the rise of an empire which encompassed 3 different continents itself. And this mighty empire is called the Ottomans. The Ottomans. I'll write it in a different color. The Ottomans. And the Ottomans are Muslim. Europe is what religion? Babur fought with neither. Babur fought with Indian sector, Ibrahim Lodi. Very good. Basically, Europeans are Christians. This became the line between Christianity and Islam. And very simply, if the route was not controlled by the Ottomans, they were getting pepper a little bit cheaper. But now the land route has been disrupted. And if it has not been disrupted, if you are going to cross Ottoman territory, they will ask for money, tax. So the desperation to come to India will now start to develop in the European sector. They are buying very, very expensive pepper from the Ottomans, and the land route is not possible. And as it is, Christians, you will most probably get slaughtered either in the Ottoman Empire or in the Safavid Empire. So why were they actually looking for a sea route? Because the land route got disrupted. Is this point clear? Is this clear? Clear. Great. So this route is not possible. Very simply, the Ottomans, the Safavids have blocked the land route either this way or this way. You can't use this without getting either killed or getting very expensive pepper. So now they need to find a way to reach this coast. This is the western coast. This route is not available. Land route not possible. So therefore, what is left is what? If land route is not possible and you need to reach the west coast, what is left? Very good. The sea. Technically, two oceans, Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. But there's a problem. The problem is there's a very big continent in between Europe and India, which is Africa. The basic point of the matter is the Ottomans and the Safavids have blocked this sector. They cannot go via land route. India, you cannot go and enter without getting extremely expensive pepper. But now what stands in front of them is Africa. Even if you want to reach the eastern coast, that is even more difficult. To reach the eastern coast, you would have to go via the Arctic and then come. Any route which is going to come will technically land you here, which is the western coast. Now there is Africa. The problem is there is Africa, and the Europeans would start from Portugal or Spain, and they used to either come here, then 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 come here. Every time they saw land, they said India. It was Africa. Then another man went a little bit further. They said, now I've reached India. Still Africa. The problem is they are bouncing around on the western coast of Africa. They don't know the route. and in the Atlantic Ocean with no modern GPS. If I tell you to travel from here to somewhere else without a GPS, Google Maps, you will get lost. Now they are trying to find their way from Europe to India via Africa. So imagine every man taking a ship, then reaching land saying India. What they see is Africa. The problem is Africa is too big a continent. So between 1400 and 1490, for 90 years, they make one after the other a lot of attempts. But finally, what happens is, in 1498, not 98, 1488, a person reaches here. What is this place called? What is this place called? Not Kerala, come on. Not in Africa. Cape of Good Hope. The person who reached this place is called a person called Bartholomew Diaz. We'll call him Diaz. Diaz was a Portuguese sailor, and he finally was able to reach the tip of Africa. He named it Cape of Storms, but later it was called Good Hope because this cape gave hope to the Portuguese to find a route to India. That is why Cape of Good Hope. Now the point here is very simple. He has reached from Portugal somewhere here, and there was a very important ruler. His name is Henry the Navigator, very obsessed with navigation. Diaz reaches here, but the point is you are still at the crossover between Atlantic and Indian Ocean. So based on the map which was given based on the map which was written by Bartholomew Diaz, one person called, who was he called? Vasco da Gama will now start to travel, and he will reach till Cape of Good Hope. But rather than guessing how he could go further, he does a master stroke, which is that he employs a Gujarati captain or pilot named Abdul Majid, and now Abdul Majid will show the route to Calicut, which is on the western coast itself. So it is in 1498 that Vasco da Gama found a sea route to India. How was Abdul Majid present there? Trade was happening from the Indian side. So Gujaratis and the western coast, a lot of trade was happening with Madagascar and South Africa at this point of time. The very simple point is, his route was still not straight. I'll show you his route. His route was this. This is the route which Vasco da Gama took to reach India and then go back, which is when he was coming, he was much straighter in that sense. But whilst going back, he was lost in the Arabian Sea, but was able to still find a way to reach the Somalian coast and then hug the coast to go over Africa. This is a very significant moment in Indian history, and more than that, in European history, because finally they had a route to cross over from Europe to India via sea route. Make sense, everybody? This discussion with regards to why is Bartholomew Diaz so important. See, it says here, Diaz in 1488 originally named the Cape of Storms to Cape of Good Hope. He was the one who was funded by Henry the Navigator, and this is the person. I'll show you his picture also. This is Bartholomew Diaz. After Bartholomew Diaz reaches Cape of Good Hope, Vasco da Gama is able to come to India via circumventing Africa using a Gujarati pilot called Abdul Majid. Everything I say is always written in the PPT, but I'm trying to explain something to you. So once Cape of Good Hope is reached by Diaz, the floodgates to India were now open, and this route was then used by Vasco da Gama. Is this clear? And if it is clear, then I want to have a very small discussion with you. That is going to be the last discussion I have with you. Because I have to conceptually make you something clear, which is the concept of colonization and imperialism. Because this is the story of colonization. Okay. Now, everybody is with me. Do you understand the importance? Why they need to come via sea? They can't travel because of the land route being there, blocked, and thereafter they come to India by circumventing. Now, we'll technically do the Portuguese tomorrow. Portuguese, Dutch, English, French, all tomorrow. Little bit. Don't have to worry with regards to that. Now, there are two words here: colonization and imperialism. A lot of students think they're the same. They're the same. This is a very small discussion, 2 minutes discussion. A lot of you think, or a lot of the students think they're the same, but they're technically not the same. Imperialism is like stage one. And imperialism gives way to colonization. Why am I saying this? Because these two words I am going to use in the next 2-3 classes. What is imperialism? Imperialism means domination. Domination to get concessions. To get some form of concessions. On the other hand, imperialism means indirect rule. You do not fully control the rule, or the king, or the place, or the territory. However, colonization means direct control via conquest. And now you start to change the political, economic, and social system. I'll give you a very simple example. A very, very simple example. You would have seen these battery cars in malls in which small children sit and they move around in that car. Have you seen that ever? Yes, you've seen. Now, technically, the child thinks that he is driving, that the steering wheel is actually of any purpose. But technically, someone else is using a remote control to shift the car. Yes or no? So the steering of the car is in someone else's hand. The child thinks he is steering. This is imperialism. That basically you don't directly control the person. You give an illusion of control to others that the child is steering. But the person who is actually steering is just giving the direction, basically dominating you to give you direction. Again, very simple example. You need to go somewhere. You took your friend with you. Now, you don't know the route. Though you are driving the car, the person who is navigating you is technically telling you where to go. This is called domination for concession. You are not controlling the car directly, but you're letting that person tell you where to go. Then what is colonization then? Colonization is when that friend says enough is enough, he takes over the car and makes you now sit in the passenger seat and he drives. Direct control is colonization. Indirect control is imperialism. Imperialism is done for concessions. I want good, favorable understanding. Colonization is done when you take control and change the whole political system. Make sense? Very good. Now, similarly, till Battle of Buxar, British are imperialistic in India. Till the grant of Diwani, they are imperialistic in India. Till 1765, they are technically considered imperialistic. After 1765, they are now going to start colonization. So now, when somebody says to you, we were colonized, do you understand the connotation of that word? Yes? Great. So before we end the class and I take your questions, let me summarize what we've done today. Let me summarize everything and then you can leave the session. We've started our discussion with the structure of history within UPSC itself, which is ancient medieval, PT, modern art and culture, prelims and mains, and world history post-independence, only mains. Then we understood the syllabus. No specific references. And then we understood the modules, 21 modules. Thereafter, we pivoted towards what we need to discuss today. First discussion was Mughal decline. What I was trying to do was that I was trying to create the picture in which the British are going to rise. And the picture is that Aurangzeb period was already chaotic and problematic. And by the time we come to Bahadur Shah I, Mughal decline has already set in. Jagirdari crisis, economic crisis, the agrarian distress, the invaders, all will compound to the issue and create a problem for our whole acronym Baja Farmu Ahalsha Akbar II, which is that all of these rulers will never be able to destabilize India because they will constantly be technically be pushed or technically be getting impetus or negative impetus in the form of either invaders or the agrarian crisis which they were never able to control. And it is in this context, three people I told you need to remember their name: Farrukhsiyar, Alamgir II, Shah Alam. And thereafter, at the same point of time, you also need to remember the fact that Farrukhsiyar is very important in the story because he gives a very important order farman to the British. Alamgir II and Shah Alam II are linked to the process of Buxar and the Battle of Plassey. And in the end, what we did was what? We did the concept of why were the Europeans obsessed to come to India. And tomorrow when we resume back at 5 p.m., we will talk about the implications of Vasco da Gama coming to India, and I'll give you a whole story of the Portuguese, the Dutch, the English and the French, along with the Danish. I'll work with timelines and I'll give you a very basic picture of their establishment. So the first 2.5 classes will talk about establishment of British. And then the next 2 classes will tell you how would the British dominate over the other European powers, specifically the French, to become the single largest, the single most important power in India. Make sense? Advent of European Tanu, first and second class, overlapping. Everything is overlapping. I've just divided into 2 modules, right? So before you leave the session, if you don't have a question, I hope everything made sense. You understand the importance of joining this course, the whole structure of it also, everything which is available to you. I thank you for your patience. I'm extremely sorry for what happened today. Will never happen again. We will make sure about that. And as always, I hope that this type of structure is working for you. Giving explanation first, basic picture first, details later, and then summarization in the end. If it is, then very simply, we'll go forward with it. I lost 30 minutes, whatever be the case, that will make up. That is not an issue. It's a very long journey you need to have with me the whole of February. So don't worry in that sense. I just want you one last thing. If it made sense, just give me a thumbs up so that I can get the satisfaction of knowing that whatever we did today was good, right? Perfect. Thank you. I will see you tomorrow, same